Hello everybody, it is 5:29 p.m. Central Time on Saturday, November 5th, 2016. Just quickly jumping on here to do an update for you, let you know what's going on here over in Europe. This is specifically for my European viewers, so if you're not interested in what's going on in Europe, go ahead and just, zone out for a minute, but let's just get into it. Okay, so guys, the most recent earthquake to be reported now in Italy is a 3.4. This follows a series of other earthquakes, and the topping out at a 3.4 earlier. Now we have another 3.4. So, where does this lead us? Well, we just had a 3.4 earlier today in Greece. And now we have a 3.4. Now some agencies reporting 3.5, depending on which earthquake you want to go to. But 3.4 followed by 3.4 to 3.5, right to the west-northwest. Same time that's going on, Algeria moved with a 4.2. And if we go look up the earthquake information, I think it would be prudent for us to do that at this point. So let me turn on a display capture for us to see what we're looking at here. And you can see my mouse. We're going to go open up the information from either the Europeans or the USGS, either or. And from the USGS, it gives us our plate boundary map, which is the red lines I always show you, which define our plate boundaries, in this case, between Africa and Europe. And you can see where the star is, that's where the earthquake resides. And it's right along that plate boundary. Now look where it goes, though. It goes over to Greece, then it curls back down through Turkey, goes back down through the Red Sea, and down along the border of Egypt. Well, Egypt was struck earlier today by near 4.0 activity. Also today, throughout the day in central Italy. Now, the INGV has downgraded the earthquakes to 3.5, 3.6, or I'm sorry, 3.4, 3.5, but we're looking at activity that was actually topping out at 4.3. So, activity topped out at 4.3, detected by several stations. I showed that earlier. I'm not going to bother you showing you that now, other than understand several stations showed anywhere between 4, 4.1, 4.2, and then the INGV downgraded to 3.6 or 3.5. And so all that happened today, and we told you last night you would top out at 4.3 tops. Why? Well, there was a 4.3 yesterday over to the east. Maybe that's still on the map. Yeah, it is. Take a look at it here. Okay, there's our 4.3 that struck over to the east in Albania. Now today, people telling me that a 4.6 has struck Albania today. I don't know. I haven't heard anything about that. I didn't see it on the seismologist feed. I don't know if anybody has any information on that. But if we do have information on that, if there was a 4.6 today in Albania, then that increases our threat level going into tomorrow. But I don't have that information for us. I can go check again. Let's go see. Hold on. Let me hit refresh on this. Do we have anything showing up over in Albania? Now we have Algeria with a 4.6. Maybe that's what the people were saying. Maybe they meant to say, the people who were making the report were meaning to say, hey, a 4.6 has struck in Algeria, but they said Albania. And there's, the big difference is, of course, right next to Italy is Albania. And I'm not seeing Albania anywhere even on the seismologist list, which shows us pretty much everything, right? So check this out, guys. They now have a 4.0. Now, they went with 3.4, right? But look at this. Look at our station list for central Italy. I'm going to read you the list. We go low and we go high, and the average between those and the station calculations. But look at all the stations reporting. And we'll start at the top. We're going down the magnitude list, ML in the middle. So 3.3, 3.3, 3.5, 3.5, 3.8, 3.7, 4.2, 4.4, 3.8, 3.6, 4.2, 3.9, 3.9, 4.0, 4.5, 4.0, 4.5, 4.4. So what is it? Well, it's above a 3.3, obviously, and it's below a 4.5. Okay, so our magnitude range there falls right in between the magnitude we warned you for topping out today. And that's exactly what's happened. Now, they went with the lower, they always do. But look what happened to the west. So you got to imagine a 4.2, 4.3 struck in Italy, followed by a 4.2 down in Algeria. Does that make more sense? That makes more sense to me. and they're not doing the crazy downgrades on Algeria because nobody cares. But up in Italy, they're doing the crazy downgrades because there's too many chefs in the kitchen. You know what I mean? You guys ever hear that expression? Too many chefs in the kitchen, right? We've got too many people weighing in on the earthquake where it would just normally be calculated and it would be done with it. Instead, they're going refine, 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 and every time we refine, it's like whittling down a piece of wood. You can never put the pieces back in. So, there we go. Okay, so you saw the station list yourself. You go back and check it again. There's multiples to choose from, so you don't have to take my word for it. I'm just providing you the information. These are multiple agencies across the area reporting the Algerian earthquake, and then Italy, INGV weighing in at 3.4. The OCA, who is the OCA? Let's go find out here. Hold on. Let's go to my bookmarks. OCA. Who is OCA? Let's see. OCA. Geo Azur University, Nice, Sofia, Antipolis, Valbonne, France, the French agency. Okay. I mean, it's acceptable. They're a reputable agency. Why? Again, they're detecting more and out of the France in north central Italy. INGV going with the lesser. That's fine. It's somewhere in between the two. Let's just put it that way. And that falls, again, like I said, right into what we warned you for yesterday. Now today, 2 new deep earthquakes struck. One in Romania, the other down in Turkey. And they're slightly raised high off the globe. You can kind of see that. I have to turn the globe all the way to the side for you to see how they're raised. You see those there, the 2.6 and 2.7 here and here. Okay, each one of those like 120 kilometers down, or 115 to the north and 120 something to the south. So those are 2 semi-deep earthquakes. Could cause shallower 3.6 to 4.6. Well, what just struck? Look at the 3.4 here. You know what? I'm going to go get the station information on this particular 3.4. Okay, let's look at our scientific data, see if we have anything showing up. All coming from the INGV. Do we have magnitude list on here? Let's go, let's see. We sure don't. They're getting their information from the Belgrade, Serbia agency, the Institute Nacional Geofisica Volcanologica in Italy, and Geo Azur in France. So that's what they're basing their magnitudes on, guys. So again, we can go back to the magnitude list. Now that you know those are the ones they're going with, we go back 4 seismologists, latest data contributions. We go into where they've chosen the 3.4 at 8 kilometer depth, and then the OCA, the French agency, reporting a 4.0 at 5 kilometer depth. BEO reporting a 3.1. Look at the times on this too. So a few seconds apart. Okay, that makes sense. It's the same earthquake. One agency reporting higher, one agency reporting lower. We go with the INGV list on the 3.4. Do we even have magnitudes listed? Sure do. We sure do. Okay. Look down the list at the right-hand side. And here we go. Starting at the top, 3.9. Low end, 3.2, 3.1. That's low. 2.8's detected. I mean, that's real low. Real low. And then we get up to 3.9. Have any 4s in the mix? 4.2, 4.5. And then they go with the lower. It's proof. I mean, I'm not chastising anyone for doing this. That's how it's done. That's what they're taught to do, I should say. And maybe that's not how it should be done. I don't know. Who am I to say what should be done? I'm just reporting to you what it is. So that's the range, and the calculation they end up with is 3.4. Just choked on my coffee. Okay. So, all right, there we go, guys. So that's your update for Europe right now. The activity that's going on is to be expected. We have 2 new deep earthquakes, which could lead to shallower, larger earthquakes. 1 magnitude larger is near 3.6. 2 magnitudes larger is 4.6. We now have to watch for up to 48 hours based upon these new deep earthquakes. Additionally, 48 hours for the earthquakes to progress from over here in the West Pacific, from yesterday into today, going to the west. So we're going to see new pressure enter into South Europe within 48 hours, and these 2 deep earthquakes are going to turn up within 48 hours. Shallower, larger movement that may already be occurring now with, again, the 3.4 that is showing at some stations as 4.0. Okay, we just had another 3.0. Another 3.0 at the location. I'd say it's pretty obvious these 2 new deep earthquakes today have flared things up a little bit. Luckily, they're only in the 2s. Guys, if these deep earthquakes were any larger, it would really increase your earthquake threat. But luckily, a deep 2.6 down below the Eastern European craton, the Eastern European plate, let me show it to you. It's the green versus yellow. Do you see this here? Do you see how it goes green versus yellow? Green is lowlands, yellow and brown goes up into mountains. And that's the edge of the European craton. So when we see that there, again the 2.6 striking along the edge of the plate, it's putting pressure to the west. As it's putting pressure to the west, the pressure hits the plate boundary, going up and down east of Italy, which has moved 70 centimeters, 27.5 inches or more since this whole thing began. So ultimately, pressure is coming in now, it's increasing the swarm. You're seeing it pick back up, right? I mean, it went from 2s. Remember how this morning it was just pretty much 2s? Then it went back up into 3s. Then it hit 4, right near 4. They downgraded it, whatever, hit near 4. And then now we have our new deep earthquakes, which is putting pressure up from down below. As pressure comes up from down below, it spreads outwards and upwards. So you got to understand that the earthquakes over in Romania and down in Turkey, down below, are pushing upwards on this plate boundary, which I'll show you again here. Hold on. Let me get a screen open for it here. Okay, on the red line, down below South Turkey, and then going up to the edge, interior edge of the craton, both areas pressing up from down below. Okay, so you can imagine down below East Europe, right along that plate boundary, it is pushing upwards and outwards right now. And it's going to push upwards and outwards towards where? Well, so the area to the west by northwest. That explains Algeria today. That also explains the 4.2 or 4 in central Italy. Upwards and outwards. Now it's going to carry on, and with this new round of pressure going to come across India, come across the Middle East and Iran and Afghanistan, and it's going to head right into you guys 48 hours from now or less, but I'm leaning towards 48 hours just because look how long it's taking it right now. Yesterday spread out to Sumatra. By tomorrow it should spread out across Nepal, going over to the Middle East. And then again, like I said, by Monday night, Italy time, Monday night, let's say about 9 or 10 p.m. on Monday, I should be reporting to you about an increase in activity again. Yet once again. So we hope that it'll just stay down in the 4.0 range, 5s, low 5s, 4s striking here, as opposed to anything larger. I'll keep you up to date. I'll be watching closely. And just understand, the largest earthquake of the day today in that 4 range, just like we talked about last night. That's good news, right? I mean, you're happy, aren't you, that it's kind of, it's kind of starting to calm down just a little bit. But with this new round of pressure coming in, you only have a couple more days to prepare. Speaking of having a couple days to prepare, let me show you something on my YouTube channel. Look at this. Look at the screen, guys. This is from Janet Fullerlove. I favorited up her video. First of all, she went on BBC News, and that's very much appreciated, talking about the earthquake forecasting again. And then here's just a shot of their house, which I'll mute here, but you can see it. This is the house in Italy that they're staying in and that they own. And the house was completely damaged by the earthquake, and they have to prop it up with supports and stilts. And they did a good job. As a guy who kind of does this for a living myself, at least carpentry, I can tell you what, it was a good idea for them to brace it laterally out about 10 feet with a 45-degree angle, because any future shaking, yeah, cheers, guys, seriously, good job. Because, if you just put a beam up against the house to support it, like somebody might normally do without an earthquake seismic threat, that would easily fall over in the next earthquake. So to have it staked in like that you see here, and with the 45-degree support, good idea. Especially in light of, you probably don't want to start, I would dare say, and this is just my own personal advice on it, that, fix what you can just to stop any, lateral movement right now, but wait to try and fix it. Wait a few weeks. Give it a couple weeks and try before you start patching, because you never know with this next round of pressure that comes in. As soon as you get that thing patched, it's going to crack, and then, you'll be like, damn, why do we even bother? What? Let's just wait. So I don't want to tell you to wait too long, but if I lived there, I personally would be shorting it up like you are now, and then, wait it out for the next couple weeks. It's not too long that we're going to have to wait. Eventually, just like in Greece, let me take you back a month. People in Italy, there is hope. I want you to have hope. Don't be scared, okay? Here, let me look at, where's the camera? Guys, don't be scared, okay? You're going to calm down eventually. It'll be just like Greece. You remember, there was about 2 weeks of major movement in Greece. Swarms, 5s, 4s, striking all along right out to sea. Luckily, it struck out to sea. It struck right down along the perimeter. Here, let me zoom in on it. Okay, it's struck right along the perimeter of the edge of the Mediterranean, like near Crete, west of Crete, and off the shores of Turkey. So both areas not populated. But man, I guarantee you, if those original swarms that kicked off the Ionia range, which then got hit with a huge swarm itself, luckily, again, not many people living there, but the large swarm, that whole thing took about 2 to 3 weeks to play out. And it really built up and spread out, and then it happened again and again and again as the pressure came over from the West Pacific. But then finally, we had this moment where there was a lull in the West Pacific. There were no deep earthquakes that happened for at least a week. And I made many videos over that week talking about, hey guys, look, it's awesome. It's finally, the deep earthquakes have stopped for a minute. That's going to give us a chance to breathe. And it did. So that'll happen again. And then this earthquake swarm that you see here in central Italy will transfer to a new catching point along the plate boundary. And most likely it'll transfer to a new catching point somewhere between the spots that are already moving. So these, the plate boundary over near Algeria, let's go back 6 months. Go back 6 months. And there was a huge swarm that happened down near Gibraltar in Algeria. Over and over again. Stacks of earthquakes down in the Mediterranean near Gibraltar, south of Spain. You guys remember this? Maybe I'm the only one that was paying attention at the time, but it was a large, massive swarm, and 5s and 4s all striking down here in the southwest Mediterranean. And everybody was saying it was really weird because there were some ships out there that were patrolling the waters, and the ships chased the U.S. ships down here. It was kind of weird, but anyways, earthquake swarm happening there. So the earthquake swarm spots transfer along these plate boundaries. So it's not going to keep happening in Italy forever. You're going to get out of this, and to get out of it, all it's going to take is a few days without deep earthquakes over here in the West Pacific. Okay? Now, here, hold on. I got a cat at the door, and if I don't answer, come on. I know, you get your way. You're old enough. You've been through enough. She's 15 years old, guys. So she gets whatever she needs. Anyways, so as we look at the earthquakes that have struck, you can definitely make out they strike along the plate boundaries, especially in Europe. And so this swarm location will eventually dissipate. And again, every time we see new pressure coming in from the West Pacific, that's the bad news that I keep having to deliver to you, that there's a new round of pressure keeps coming in. And that's going to happen again right now. Within 48 hours, we'll be back at it. But hopefully, then we'll see a lull. But we have to keep watch. Okay? So have a plan. Be prepared just in case I'm wrong. Say a large earthquake hit. Let's say I'm totally wrong. And a large earthquake comes in and goes boom and hits you right in the spot where I'm telling you, it's all good. Well, that's why I want you to be prepared in case I'm wrong. And I want you to be prepared in case I'm right when I'm warning on an earthquake, of course. But, I'm not infallible. If I'm one magnitude off on this and it goes up into the 4.8, the 5, then that can really scare people and cause some damage. I take this very seriously in the warnings that I do issue. So, right now, again, like I said, we're kind of fanning out from that last round of pressure. The 2 new deep earthquakes, the largest that I foresee possible off those is a 4.6. Well, technically a 4.7 because of the 2.7 down here to the south, but I'm more leaning towards the 2.6, leading to a 3.6 to 4.6. So that's not that big of a deal. It's just enough to shake things up and catch people's attention, which then causes alarm, and it's undue alarm. It's based upon smaller movement that's going on that keeps reigniting the flame. It's like a wildfire. It just keeps getting more wind blown on it, and it flares it up again. So eventually, either it'll burn out, right, in respects to a wildfire, using that as the analogy, more wind blown on it, and it flares it up again. So eventually, either it'll burn out, right, in respects to a wildfire, using that as the analogy, eventually it will either burn out or the wind will die down. And the same thing happens for our seismic pressure. The seismic pressure will either literally expend itself in the spot by deformation, mountain range rising, something like what happened in Greece, or the pressure will stop coming in from the location that it's coming from and transfer to a new area. But as it's been happening, it presses to the west and hits that plate boundary, man. And when it hits that plate boundary, when it's coming in from the east going to the west, when it goes across Turkey and Greece, it only has one spot to go at the moment. And that's right up the plate boundary to our sticking point that has moved 70 centimeters, 27.5 inches rise and fall. That is over 2 feet of deformation. Huge faults opening up over entire mountain ranges, spanning 10, 15, 20 miles, new crack in the ground. It's amazing that all happened in one earthquake. So, all right, what else is going on here? Hawaii. Aloha to my people in Hawaii. But we have a little swarm happening here. Where is it occurring? Well, guys, it's occurring across the whole island. And this is something in the 3 range across the whole island, one side to the other. What does this indicate? Well, the cluster of earthquakes, the 2s and 3s, is centered around, of all places, Pu'u'o'o and Kilauea. We understand those are active. But when you see earthquakes spread out across the whole island, it's the possibility of a new eruption occurring. A new blast of some kind of increased pressure on the magma chamber, lava lake rising beyond the banks of the lava lake. Something like that getting ready to go down. Now, I went and checked the feeds from earlier, the webcams, and I didn't see much. Maybe we should go and check again. Let's go check again. Kitty says yes. All right, let's go check the webcam one more time. Oh yeah, I'll say the lava lake's rising. Look at that, it's right at the actual edge. Look at that, it's getting ready to overflow. I'm surprised this isn't in the news. Look, it's right at the edge. It's maybe 10 feet down, maybe 15 feet. This is actually huge, so you got to understand. That's like that little lip right there between the lava and the top is like maybe even 20 feet. I mean, it's like, this is massive. So, okay, lava lake rising right to the top. Keep that in mind. We'll have news on that in the next day and a half. I guarantee you'll have international news if that sucker goes over the side. that will break on international news, and they'll make a big deal about it. Did you hear a lava lake overflowed at Hawaii? Okay, that'll be in news like in the next couple days if it keeps going the way it's going. The other thermals look normal. Okay, so we're looking at the thermal imaging in the upper left-hand corner, imagery down at the bottom in the right. This is Mauna Loa, so it hasn't erupted since 1981. Mauna Loa hasn't. So again, this is the largest of the volcanoes there, and it's been dormant since 81. But Kilauea, this is where the tourist outlook is. Okay, that's getting ready to overflow. You know what? I wonder if we've got it on webcams.volcano discovery. Here, check this out, guys. I'm going over to webcams.volcano discovery. Most of you guys might not use this. Hey, check it out. Look where it opens us up. Over in Italy. Tanto Amore. There's Etna. All right. Let's go down the list and go down to Kilauea, where we have 13 webcams. And let's open up our play button here. Well, that's troubling. You can't play them anymore. Does this one play? No? Huh. Interesting. Well, we're no longer playing video on Volcano Discovery, are we? That's a real shame. Okay, well, I can't show it to you anymore. All right, you used to be able to click play on here just up to this past week even, and you would see this animated up, and we'd be able to see it rising, but apparently that's been turned off. That's a shame. All right, well, it is what it is. So, be aware, swarm striking across Hawaii, sign of volcanic activity. And let's see, where else are we talking about? Oh, U.S. East Coast struck again. East Coast struck right along at Tennessee at the Carolina borders, eastern edge of the Craton. We've got our pipeline just to the southwest that broke or blew up again this past week. So just be on watch. Smaller earthquakes striking on the East Coast. And that's pretty much all I got for you guys. So have a plan, be prepared just in case. You may never have to use the plan, but in times of emergency or times of unrest, the plan can come in tremendously, well, handy. Ask the people in Italy, those who had a plan versus those who didn't. Did it come in handy? Did it make you feel more secure knowing what you would do in case you knew an earthquake was striking? Yeah, I think it did. So that's what we're doing this for. I'm glad we could help as much as possible. And more to come, guys, of course, more to come. I'll be in touch, and I'll be watching if anything else goes down. Be safe.